Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Around the Table, GTA. This episode we're going to talk about avoidance. Before we do start though, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who's still continuing to watch. We're already halfway through the year, more than halfway through the year now, and thanks for sticking through. Thanks for the continued support. I really appreciate it. Um, so first off, I'm going to talk about what avoidance is. So let's just make the base definition of avoidance is that it's something that you should be doing, but you don't want to do for whatever reason. So just to give you an example, instead of going to sleep, instead of going for a run, instead of working out, and instead of taking a shower, I chose to shoot multiple podcast episodes. Yes, I could take a shower later. There's nothing wrong with that. I could go to sleep later. The same thing with everything else. I put everything aside because ultimately I've actually been avoiding doing a podcast episode. This weekend I was really upset, and instead of using my whole day to shoot a bunch of episodes, I just wandered off to do other things. I ran in the rain. Um, I started a new workout routine. Um, I went for a walk. I took a nap. I did so many things to avoid this, right? I was actually like super angry, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. Horoscope people are saying it's Mercury retrograde or whatever, but I've been in a bad mood, right? So to avoid a lot of things, I've just been doing other things. Just to give you an example, I avoided doing this so bad that I reinstalled a game that I haven't played in a year to reach the highest level that you could get, which is Legend. I'm talking about Hearthstone, instead of doing an episode of the podcast, right? And that's horrible. Avoidance can make you do things that are completely unnecessary. It's just like, when you want to do something active, you might just start cleaning your room, or instead of cleaning your room, you'll go watch TV, and you're just going to keep prolonging whatever you're trying to do so that you can just avoid something. And it gets crazy sometimes, right? If you really discipline yourself and look at yourself, you're going to be upset with all the time that you wasted. I've literally wasted 3 days not talking about this, and I think it's a good thing because it kind of shows you how bad avoidance can be, right? I'm going to talk about the negatives, but I'm also going to be talking about the positives as well, right? Avoidance wouldn't be a thing if it didn't work to an extent. Um, you know, with how long we've been on this earth, with what is ingrained in our human being and our senses, avoidance is obviously something that we've developed to survive, right? Yeah, I'm avoiding doing laundry right now as well, but I think this just makes more premium content, right? As cheery as I am, I'm number one, I'm tired, and number two, I'm very grumpy. But there's something nice about talking on the podcast. But anyways, let's get to it. Why do we avoid things, right? Sometimes you just avoid things so you just don't want to do it, right? You're lazy. It's something that's so simple that you could do it later, right? I just use the room as a classic example, right? I know some messy people. I'm not even that messy. My room's not crazy right now. I have too many things in my room in general, but you'll go to someone's room and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." There's a meme where it's Max from the Goof Troop, and he meets the girl that he's totally into, and he's like, "You live like this?" Right? Sometimes you're so avoided that you just kind of become like a disgusting person to an extent, right? Um, and you got to keep yourself in check, right? Sometimes you avoid things because it's hard, right? Look at what the pandemic has done to people. So many people have like completely lost it, and I don't mean like go mad or anything. It's just like some people, their hair has grown out so much where they're like, you know what, I'm just not gonna cut my hair. I'm not gonna do this. Or people have gained so much weight and they're like, you know what, I'm big now, so this is the new me. Kind of like how there's gonna be a new normal, which I don't really understand. This is a side rant, but it's just like I don't understand why anyone would want things to go back to normal. And I'm not saying normal isn't good, but there was a lot of bad things that were happening before all of this happened. So why would you want things to go back to normal when you could want things to go back partially to normal and things be better? But that's just my look on it. Right? Sometimes you avoid something because it's awkward, right? You know, especially like I'll put relationships into this because I'm gonna add a couple of stories there. But it's like, if you ask someone out and they say no, and then you have to see them every day, so you kind of try to avoid them, right? Because you feel embarrassed, right? Or if you're the opposite on the spectrum, and someone asked you out and you said no, and now there's that weird tension because you both don't really know where else this is going, right? Can you guys still be friends? Uh, can things ever be the same, right? And that's up to you guys, right? You gotta break the ice or something. I don't know what you're gonna do in that situation. Everyone's different, right? But yeah, you can't avoid things forever, right? Like for me, I started working out because I didn't like how I was looking, and it was hard at first, right? And I made excuses not to run. Oh, it's too cold, it's too hot, I'm tired, right? I work nights, so I'm always tired. I'm kind of like the Hulk, but tired, not angry. But it seems recently I'm angry all the time. I just haven't turned green yet. But we'll see. Maybe it's the retrograde. Maybe it's the stars. Who knows? Maybe it's whatever I'm eating. Who knows? Maybe it's I wouldn't say roid rage because I don't do any steroids, but maybe it's because I have so much energy now that it's not going anywhere, and my default mode is mad for whatever reason. But anyways, there's a series of reasons why we avoid things, right? And we have to remember there's consequences to everything, right? For every good, there's a bad. When you're avoiding things, sometimes it can make you angry, right? Because you're not dealing with something that you're you're supposed to deal with it. You're supposed to deal with it, and that's why you're avoiding it. Maybe it's too stressful for you to deal with right now. Maybe it's gonna make you feel awkward. Maybe it's setting off your anxiety, right? It's hard to deal with, but ultimately you have to get it done, right? Because um, it's still going to be there, right? Um, and you got to look at it this way as well. Like, what happens when we stop avoiding things, right? When you deal with whatever the issue is, you'll get a result, right? At the end of the day, it's better to have the result and walk away than be in this huge limbo, right? So this goes for almost every aspect of life, right? If you like someone, for example, you could have a crush on them and not say anything for years or months or however long you've known them. Or you could bite the bullet and let them know you like them, right? At least you have an answer. At least you guys are both on the same page. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can move on, right? And the sooner you get over that hump, it's going to be less hard the next time you do it, right? You could see the signs. You could avoid the signs next time, right? Or you could just get down to it and not waste your time, right? A lot of time is wasted when you avoid things because you're not getting to the bottom of things, right? You want to get to the bottom of things because it's going to be a worry at the back of your head forever, right? It could be something that haunts you for the rest of your life because you're avoiding it. Um, I have some stories, but some stories I can't share, right? Um, but I know someone who is avoiding something where it could be it could be a big problem, but they're avoiding it. So you don't want to be like that because you're always going to be on edge and it's going to pop up out of nowhere. Um, yeah, you have to get to the bottom of it. So I'll tell an old story. This is from like one of my, I would say like maybe like my third girlfriend, whatever. This is a past relationship, and this was years ago. Like very, like it was. Anyways, to the story, I had a stalker ex girlfriend, and it was pretty bad. If you know me, I do have a lot of female friends, right? So I'm hanging out with girls. So if you know me, if you're going to get with me, you have to know that I'm talking to girls. And it's not necessarily girls that I'm interested in, right? Because we are just friends. But it's something that you know, right? It's not a secret, right? And it's that's how my life's been a majority of the time, right? I just get along with girls better. I do have like my core group of friends that are dudes, right? I got the squad, I got the boys, right? But you know, I always have time for the ladies if they're available, right? Right? If it's not a situation, because we're just friends, that's it, right? But this girl didn't really understand that. And, you know, if I was talking with someone, she'd always pop up out of nowhere. And it was very creepy. It was to the point where she knew my route to and from school. She'd pop up if I'd walk with anyone who's a girl and she didn't know. She'd come out of nowhere and be like, you know, I'm his boyfriend, and I don't know who you are, and you're talking to, and it's just like, wow, that's kind of weird. It's very possessive, right? And that's something I was not liking, right? It's a conversation that I talked about a couple of times, and it kept happening. But at that time, instead of dumping the girl, I kind of just avoided her, right? So that's when my sister was younger as well. So she knew that if my sister was outside playing, I'd eventually come outside to go get my sister, and then she could see me. So it became a very weird scenario because I'm avoiding this girl. She's following me. She can't find me. And now my sister's a hostage because I'm not telling this girl, well, you know what? I don't think this is working out. Right? So sometimes avoiding things will make things worse because, you know, I could be a heartbreaker and be single, or I could have a stalker who's holding my sister as hostage, and I don't know how bad it'll get later, and it becomes a scenario, right? I don't even know if my sister remembers these times, but yeah, that's something that kind of stuck with me, and it bothers me to this. I would say it bothers me to this day, but I sometimes think about some of the things that I avoided and went through, and I'm just like, damn, you know, I should have just said like, yo, bitch, you crazy, bye, right? But I didn't, right? We're gonna talk about how to deal with avoidance, how to deal with avoiding people, how to deal with avoiding things, right? I think the biggest reason why people ask about this topic is that they want to grow. They want to know how to deal with things, or you know, maybe you're here for tips how to avoid things better. Because I guess I could do that as well, right? So first, how to deal with avoidance. You know, you got to figure out what the problem is, right? Why am I not doing this? So me, I'm doing all of this stuff because I'm not trying to be mad, right? I'm avoiding staying bad. So I'm shooting multiple episodes. I know I ran yesterday, so that's going to uh, be rough on my body because I already ran yesterday. So there's no point. I need to have a new episode this week because I have no episodes left. I was talking to Options. Shout out to Options. I shot maybe the last 4 episodes I shot a month ago. So I haven't shot a new episode until today, right? So I've been avoiding shooting new episodes. Maybe I'll drop 2 episodes this week, who knows? But when you figure out what the problem is, that's when you could start working on why you're avoiding it, right? Because remember, avoidance adds stress and anxiety that you don't necessarily need, right? After that, you have to find a solution. So now you know what the problem is. How do you deal with the problem? I'm avoiding my boss. Why are you avoiding my boss or your boss? Oh, because he's an asshole. Or because I wanted a raise and I didn't get it. Or they're creepy. Whatever the reason is, you have to deal with that scenario, right? My boss is harassing me. Go to HR. Talk to another boss. Do what you can to fix a problem, right? Look at scenarios that you could do to get you out of the situation, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's suffering when you're avoiding things. So I'm going to run that back because a lot of people don't realize that when you are avoiding something, you are the one who is suffering the most. So I'm going to throw in another story. Me and my sister got into an argument a little bit over a month ago. And this girl was so mad at me that she just avoided me. Any time she saw me, and like we work opposite shifts, I barely see her in the first place, right? So if I walk into the house, she left. If she's in the washroom and I passed by and she noticed me, she'd leave the house. If I didn't go to work and she was home, she'd go sleep over at someone else's house. She did all of these things to avoid me because she was mad at me. And it's just like, it was like a one-way street. I'm not mad at you. I understand that we got in a situation, like a squabble, right? Siblings fight. But she was so pressed on the situation that she didn't even want to see me, right? So this girl tried to avoid me for about a month. And I could see that it was getting worse and worse. And I just talked to her. And as soon as I talked with her, everything was fine, right? So sometimes when you're avoiding things, you're dying on a hill, right? You don't need to die on a hill for what? For someone else, right? You're hurting yourself, right? So after you find a solution, usually there's only 2 options. You could either face it head on or you could walk away, right? Dealing with the problem is what's going to give you peace, right? Whether you're slacking because you have an assignment that you have to do, but it's so stressful that you don't want to think about it, the stress is going to go away when you finish your assignment. So just do your assignment, right? If you want to go for a run, don't make it hard for yourself. Like, even this weekend, I made it super hard for myself. It was nice enough outside. I'm like, oh, I'll do it later. Then it started raining. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do it later. Then it started pouring. And I told myself, I'm going to run today. So I put on everything, and I just kept waiting. I maybe wasted 2 hours. I wasted 2 hours waiting for it to rain a little bit less so that I could run outside. Even when I went to run outside, it was still raining. So all my avoidance was a waste of time. If I ran initially, by the time that I got back, it would have started raining. So time was wasted there. So when you're avoiding things, time's wasted, energy's wasted, your mental health is wasted because you're doing all these things that you don't necessarily need to do because you don't want to do one or a couple of things, right? Sometimes you have to walk away from a scenario. Sometimes you do have to avoid things, right? If you're mad at your boss, but you're in the wrong, you don't want to start that, If you're fighting with a significant other or your parents, right? What matters more, being right or having the situation being ironed out, right? That's something that I've had to deal with a lot in the last couple of years, especially um, in different areas of my life, where I'm a person, and I don't want to sound too conceited, but I'm right a majority of the time, right? And it's hard when you're right all the time to be like, you know what? Even though I'm right, I'm just gonna walk away from this because there's no point to it, right? Sometimes you're fighting a uphill battle, and it makes no sense because whoever you're fighting with doesn't understand. Sometimes you have to walk away just for your mental health. Even like sometimes at work, I'm dealing with people that I just don't want to deal with, and I just take off. I just take off. And people are like, why do you do that? I'm like, I'm not trying to get myself fired because of somebody. I'm not trying to get fired, right? So sometimes you have to avoid things, right? You have to realize when you need to avoid something because it's a safety measure as well, right? It's kind of like if you're at a workplace and there's one person who's favored, or it's like, it's the boss's son. You're not going to pick a fight with that person. It's the boss's son. You lose either way, right? You see those crime movies, mob movies, whatever, that's the Don's kid. Even if they're a waste, even if they're stupid, even if you're right, if you get in a fight with that person, ultimately it's going to have you lose, right? So always measure your options when it comes to avoidance. Realize when avoidance is doing well for you and when it's not. What I like to do, which it has been helping me do more, is that when I avoid doing one thing that I think I should be doing, I'll do something else, right? It's even got me into better shape because I've been avoiding doing hard exercises like lifting weights and all of that because I just don't enjoy it as much, right? So that's what led me to running again, right? And now I'm running at the pace I was running 6 years ago. I've lost some weight and I've even gained some muscle, right? So now I have a lot more energy and I could go back to potentially starting lifting the weights, or I can avoid it again and just shoot more podcast episodes, guys. So you gotta know that when you're avoiding something, you're wasting your energy worrying about that thing, right? So you want to take that energy and put it into something else that's positive, because avoidance for the most part is kind of like a fight or flight response to a situation, right? It's a total drain of energy. So guys, hopefully that helps you out. If you have any questions, DM me, hit me up on the comment section, hit the like button, press the like button, smash the like button, use your forehead, press the press the like button. I'm trying to get more views on the algorithm. Yes, I have my small 3 views gang, 5 views gang, 10 views gang. But guys, I love you guys. I love you. I'm so happy that you guys still tune in. This is a lot of work. I've been avoiding actually putting this on more platforms, which I definitely should do soon. Maybe I'll give it 2 more weeks. Who knows? I've been really busy recently, but I try to take up a day for a lot of episodes just at once. Like even today, I almost avoided not doing this episode again. I had an earlier version. It was 20 minutes, and I went back to listen to it a little bit. I'm like, no, this is trash. I don't want to drop any trash content. So yeah, this is a little ramble at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Shout out to Steven. I'm still waiting for that design. I know it's free, so I can't be too picky. Coolbiz.pics for his funky designs. Maybe I'll drop the description. I'll drop the link in the description. See, now I know I'm getting tired. But anyways, I'm keeping all of this just so you guys know where I'm at. But thanks for watching. Yeah, share this with someone, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. See ya.